why is talking about gender and sexuality significant or important? Well, on the most basic level, they're key ways of understanding, of thinking about how a society operates in terms of power. Whether you're talking about politics, or you're talking about the economic system, you know, or you're talking about family history, or you're talking about, I mean, no matter what you're talking about, gender and sexuality are always critical aspects of whether it's discursively or it's in terms of as a kind of means of expressing and articulating a normative system that has tremendous ramifications then for, I mean, you know, you can trace sort of ideological constructions of gender and sexuality at various historical moments and see them linked absolutely to law, to citizenship, to all kinds of ways in which people and actors, historical actors, the constraints and the possibilities for them. To me, that's incredibly significant because it speaks to how we understand, I mean, in the American context, how we understand the United States, how the United States as a quote-unquote democratic nation has evolved. I mean, you can't see it without thinking about gender, sexuality, and I would add race and class there as well, because all of these, and I'm not a fan of intersectionality because I think it, you know, it's a way of speaking of something where there's a intersectionality is a kind of theory about looking at gender and race together, for example, and where the moment they intersect, taking a snapshot of that picture and seeing what it is. My approach is much more about how these various vectors are mutually constitutive, and what I mean by that is that you can't talk about gender without talking about race, without talking about sexuality, without talking about class, and you know, and of course there are other pieces to that as well. But I think it doesn't just give us a sort of flat picture to not talk about gender, and it's a double negative. My apologies, but sexuality, class, and race. But it gives us an inaccurate picture of how we've become the nation that we are, if we want to talk in a very broad narrative, meta-narrative kind of way. That would be my